You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona, and with me always are my good friends.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
And Shannon G and Mesa AZ.
And we would like to wish you all happy Halloween.
Spooky.
And we're spooky. We are all dressing up on Halloween as RC pilots, in case you're wondering.
Bad RC pilots, because I'm a good one.
Bad RC
I'm the
pilot,
bad
yeah.
one.
That's right.
I know, right?
Actually, I got a sexy RC pilot costume. Well, I'm not going to show it here.
There you go. We're gonna pass.
Okay, yeah. I was just
You
trying
can
to
say
imagine
that
what
for someone
I was just
else.
kind of imagine what that would look like, and I just don't want to know.
Jay's like, I'm out.
You might like it. You never know.
Yeah, you never
I
know.
know, and that's what I'm fearing. That
Yes.
scares me the most.
Jay be like, hey,
Ooh.
I like your
Hey.
digs. Hey.
Once
Anyway.
you go RC, you know.
That's right. Wow, we aren't even in the first minute of this, and
There you
it's
go.
already gone downhill. So that is terrible. So, well, our last episode left off with most of the best in the West stories, but we did say, what's that?
It was a cliffhanger.
Is it a cliffhanger?
It was a cliffhanger. We were got to the end of our podcast, and we were just about to hear from Shannon, because he was at the Scale Model Masters, or Scale Masters?
Scale Masters, U.S. Scale Masters.
Scale Masters. Okay, U.S. Scale Masters, and it's held a couple times a month, and I think they've done it twice already at your club, right?
Yeah, well, it's a couple times a year, I should say, and then
I
the
gotcha.
championship, just by chance, was at our field 2 years in a row, but usually it moves
Gotcha.
around.
Perfect. Well, excellent. Well, it's always exciting. Unfortunately, I was indisposed. I had to go to work right after the my event, so I was unable to attend. But you got to compete again. I think did. You have this. You had a new entry this time, though, right?
Yeah, my intention originally was I was going to fly the Turbo Duster, the big one I'd gotten that I put in,
Yep,
and
that's it.
I couldn't quite get everything ready on it that I wanted to. So there was this Flex Innovation Cessna 170 hanging up at the local hobby shop, and it was a fair price. And so I picked that up and got it all set up. Used my new Free Sky radio with it. Got everything working, and got a few. We had some really crummy weather for a couple days, so I couldn't get as much flying in as I wanted to. But I got it all set up, and I flew my routine. Got it ready, and then said, okay, I'm going to compete with it. So definitely better than the first plane I had. The first plane was a little rinky dink Hobby King Cub. It looked cool, but it just was too small for the conditions. But the conditions were they were okay the first couple days. It got better, and then it got worse. So Sunday was kind of a
Better than it.
I was hoping Sunday was going to be my saving grace, but how it works. So how it works is, I guess, give a little background. I qualified back in March, and with that airplane, and you can fly any plane you want, and you can fly in the same class. If I really wanted to go into a different class, I could have, but I don't have a plane or all the stuff for that. So I was in the Pro-Am Sportsman, and all you have to do is provide a picture that looks like the aircraft you have. So I found a nice picture of a Cessna 170, and that was it. So I got my 5 static points for that.
Oh, good.
If you're in the other classes, you have to have documentation. They have you hold your plane 3 or 4 different ways, and you have to explain if the 3 view is different than what your plane is, why, and if you got paint chips or paint swatches from the manufacturer. They want, the more you have, the better.
Right.
I have to do that, but down the road, maybe we'll see.
Right.
And so you fly. There was 5 rounds of flying. So there was 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. My first round, I didn't do bad. I did much better than I did the first time I flew back in March,
Mhm.
my routine, I just uh, the first time you get up there and you don't know exactly what the judges are, how they're going to go, grades or anything. But so I'm doing my routine, and then Matt Ventura, one of our longtime club members, he was my caller, so he would call out the maneuvers
Right.
for me, and he did a great job. He couldn't do it on Sunday, which was kind of a bummer, but he was supposed to compete as well. Him and one of our other club members, Gary Bailey, were going to compete in team scale. But Gary had a medical emergency. His family did. So, and then Matt couldn't get the plane started, and it was just so I felt bad for Matt. So he just kind of hung out all weekend.
Right.
But he was
Right.
great to call, so I really appreciate Matt for calling
Well, good.
for me. Tim Dickey, who is a big part of it now. He was the contest director. He's from our club, and he's really into scale now. He's actually on the 2024 FAI US team,
Wow.
going to compete internationally. So that's a big deal. He had the worst luck this weekend. I felt so bad for him. So he was doing
Ugh.
practice one day, and like the engine quit and barely got back to the runway, caused some damage. Then the next day he comes in, he lands and just bounces it and just tears the heck out of his PT-23. And then when he spent
Ugh.
9 hours like all night fixing it, and then it wouldn't start the next day.
Ah.
Yeah. So he had to go literally he had to go dig a plane out of storage that he's competed with before and
Right.
got it all up and running, and he still competed and actually did pretty well, but he just had the word, and he's running the show plus trying to keep an airplane flying. So
Wow.
I mean the dedication he put in
Yeah,
was like
kudos to him. Holy smoke,
it was impressive. I
that's
felt bad
great.
for him, but
Yeah.
and he's a great guy. So and he did a great job being the
Mhm.
CD for the event. Um, so I flew my first 2 rounds. I did okay. Actually I did better each round. So I think
Mhm.
as far as I can tell, and then there was 4 people in my class. I'm in sportsman, and one of them was my good friend Ray Hoffman. He flew in from Washington and borrowed a friend's plane, and they couldn't get it running the first day. So he basically scratched the first 2 days. And how it works is they go off your top 3 scores. So basically he scratched the
Mhm.
first 2 days. So I was like sitting in second place after Friday. I was like,
Nice.
yeah, I'm doing
Right.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but there was a new guy, a guy named Alan from Oregon. It was his first competition, and he was killing it. He's flying a Hangar 9 Super Cup,
Okay.
like a gas powered one, but just
Mm.
flying, it's flying really, really nice and good looking plane. Um, so there was a couple of guys, and I was the only electric. That's the funny thing. I was the only electric plane. Everything else was gasser, and there was one turbine. There was one jet
Huh.
and one electric.
Wow.
When it came down to the awards, I'll get talk more about that later. But just this is just funny. So there's an award for best multi-engine. There wasn't a multi-engine. If I had picked up, which I had thought about, the E-Flight Beechcraft
Uh-huh.
D18, I would have got best multi-engine
There
for
you go.
RFL the box. I was like, oh
That's
man,
funny.
because I was actually like looking at that, like, oh, I could fly that. I know I could fly that in
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so it was interesting to just to have to deal with.
Mhm.
I think the judges were great, and they were. I think they were fair for the most part. There was only one. I think it was my third round. I think it was. I think it was the first flight on Saturday. Um, so when you you do routine and you do the exact same routine. You do 10 maneuvers.
Mhm.
Mine's takeoff, land, uh, a fly pass. You just fly past. Kind of scale.
Mhm.
And I it was a little breezy, so I probably drifted towards the runway, so I came over the runway a bit. We're supposed to stay over the berm, like you guys know how
Mhm.
like the dirt area out there, our
Mm.
field. So I drifted over, and and the guy even said, runway incursion. It's
Oh, yeah.
like so he dinged me like. I think he dinged me 2 more points than I think he should have, and I wasn't going to be that guy that was like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
dinged
yeah.
for a point." I was like, but after I'm like, the other guy didn't ding me. Only one guy did, but it's like, well, that 2 points
Right.
kind of made the difference literally at the end
Those
because I
darn
was I
Yeah.
was
Russians.
real close to. Yeah, it was the Bulgarians actually. He was Bulgarian.
The
Bulgaria. There you go.
I don't know what he was. He's and they're
Uh,
all they're all good. I mean, the fact that they take their time and
yeah.
and they actually go through little training seminars, and most of the guys have done it for a couple times. There's a few guys that are like this is their second or third time, and they're still
Mhm.
even the guy who runs Scale Masters, Curtis, was like, guys, I want to see some higher scores. You seem a little low because I see these
Mhm.
planes flying, and if they're not falling out of the sky,
Yeah,
don't ding
yeah.
them. But if they screw up on a maneuver, yeah, I take a point off, but
Right.
not
Yeah, you
not.
don't wanna discourage someone for not coming back because you give 'em such
Yeah,
a low score.
exactly. And there was, and there's some people complaining about something. I forget what. Oh, the way the order was of the judges, it was something weird. Like not everybody got like a rotation of the judges the exact same way. So, and
Oh,
I
right,
could care
right,
less. I mean, it's like, okay,
right.
it's not going to change anything. Um, but I think having an electric plane, and like it's a foam plane, but it's a good sized
Mm.
plane. I mean, it flies
Mhm.
well. Um, but the thing with foam, it's like you can fly it like perfectly scale, kind of right on the edge of what's good. And then if you even give it just a little too much, juice, it's a rocket ship, and
Mhm.
it's like, okay, you're going way too fast. So playing with
Right.
that, because my friend Matt was like, he's like, oh, you got to speed up. I go, if I speed up, I'm going to be flying like a rocket ship. It
Right.
just there's just that little bit different sometimes with that airplane. And I tried like two
Yeah.
different props, and it didn't change it enough to warrant it. So I was doing okay with my uh, maneuvers and everything. Just that one time, I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But there was only a couple of incidents of other people. I told you about Tim's kind of crashing on
Mhm.
on landing. There wasn't any other major crashes that I remember. There's a couple rough landings because the weather was actually Saturday. The weather was beautiful. Friday was just windy as all get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I actually had like a 9, which it's out of a 10. So I had a I had a solid 9 on Saturday, and I'm just a few points. Like I was like right hovering at third, and then Sunday morning I'm going. I go, all right, last round, I'm gonna kill it. I got my routine down. I know I'm going. The wind just picks up right as I take off. I mean, really
Ugh.
picks up. So I take off and I come around. My flyby is still good. I come around.
Yeah.
I'm coming to do my figure eight. So I do the first half of my figure eight, and I'm coming around, kind of on the back side of it. And
Mhm.
rather than go kind of the turn out or turn straight out and then start to come around, it just pushed me in. So my 8 turned into a 6.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, there it goes." So I just kinda swung it back around. I did okay in the rest of the maneuvers that round, but I was just like,
Mhm.
that 8 just killed me. So,
Yeah.
but, but it was, I mean, again, I learned a lot. I mean, it was a huge learning experience, and, so so I ended up 4th, you know,
Oh, okay. Well,
but
you know.
they made trophies, at least. Okay, so here's the thing. So they were sup there were supposed to be 4 trophies for the sportsman class. Well, there were
Right.
4 for the pro sportsman class, but only 3 for the
The
other
intermediate.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's pictures of me holding the trophy, but it's one of the pro ones because they didn't have he's
Mhm.
getting me the other trophy,
Yoink.
but it was just like,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like, take that back." I felt like Millie Vanilli losing my Grammy, like, "Ah!"
Right.
you know?
Hey,
Uh,
you can hold this for a picture, but then
yeah,
you
that's
gotta
a
give
you
a
gotta give her it
picture.
back, yeah.
Here's your
And well,
McDonald's coupon, sir.
yeah, well, they
That's
joked, they're
it.
like, "Well, you can take the multi-engine one." 'Cause no one
There you
else
go.
qualified
You can
for
hold
it.
that one. We'll
And
peel the front picture off it, just put something over.
yeah, so there's different classes, but the grand champion was a turbine. It was Jeff Lovett. I think, do you know Jeff Lovett, Mike?
I don't know if I know him or not.
There's
If
Mike.
I saw his
There's
face, I might know
Yeah,
him.
there's Mike, and there's Jeff, and there's their dad's, I think, Don. They're a family that's been in the hobby forever. He flies this beautiful BVM T-33 that's done up with the flight metal. So he got I mean, almost nearly perfect score on static, and like he flew that
Wow.
thing on rails. Of course, it's a T-33. You can't
Yeah, sure.
you can't mess it up. Um,
Right.
if I had flown, if I had flown, if I had an EDF, I
Mhm.
knew could take the time, I probably would have done better because I think I just fly EDFs better.
Right.
So not that I
Right.
flew bad, but it was just like, oh man, I just know because I've flown like I can fly like half the routine with my
Mhm.
E-flite F4 because I would practice doing that sometimes, and then like I couldn't quite get around to the touch and go, and then a
Mhm.
missed approach. It'd be my missed approach would turn into my mayday, mayday, I gotta land. So,
Right.
but, so I'm
That's
I'm
realistic.
so I'm thinking, Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's real. I'm not kidding.
It's
Uh,
funny.
but overall, it was a great experience. I really enjoyed myself. I learned a lot, and I'm probably gonna try to compete again next year.
Oh,
I
good.
don't know where it's gonna be. They
Mhm.
keep talking. They're trying to get it either in Texas or California. It's just getting a club to agree to it because
Right.
it's a little bit of a pain in the neck to get it. And of course, we still have our damaged field. Um,
Oh, that's right.
so I was out there Wednesday and Thursday working on it. We got I felt like Scotty on Star Trek. I was like,
Mhm.
I need more time, Captain. Yeah, I'm giving it all you got, Captain.
Right, right.
So
Yeah.
I'm working on getting the electrical like partially working just enough that we have juice. We had the
Right.
generator working, and we are trying to figure. We're tracing all the lines, and we kept popping. There's one breaker. Okay, well, what's on that breaker? So we're tracing all the lines there. All right, that's there. That's there. Okay, so we're like, that one's done. Leave that one out. And so I got it where we had the lights over the picnic area because we had to have our banquet there, which was
Mhm.
really nice.
Mhm.
They had the people who brought it. That was good. So we had our banquet there, and I got like half the outlets working on the west end, and then we just ran a line over to the east end with a bunch of extra
Extension cords.
extension cords. Yeah, only a couple, but so
Mm.
it wasn't that. We just put some tents up over there. There was plenty of room for everybody that was there, and it worked out. But it was it's kind of embarrassing that we didn't have,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it's being fixed. It's and gonna start here.
Yeah, but you can't control the weather. I
Yeah,
mean, and that was pretty severe, so
yeah.
not much you can
No
do.
one really complained, about
Yeah.
that. In
Well,
fact,
I mean, they understand.
no one really complained about anything other than me complaining about my 2 points, which I
Yeah, that you got runway incursion.
yeah runway incursion because I heard the guy say it, I was just like, whoa, okay, for me.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
I would have just turned around and looked at him and said, "You know what you're talking about."
yeah. But that I was saying about that new guy in my class, Alan. He actually wound up
Mhm.
winning the sportsman class, and I guess he
No
flew that.
kidding.
He flew that. I was it was great. I was glad. I talked to him. He's a real nice guy. Everyone's helpful, and there's no attitude. Everyone's just like
Right. Right.
I was getting a little kudos. Oh, hey, well, hey, I don't care if you're flying an electric plane. You're here. But
Yeah, sure.
it was fun.
Very
So
nice.
I'm thinking either like a bigger. If I can get a turbine. I'm almost thinking time to jump to turbine for this. I really am thinking that.
Dun,
Yeah.
dun,
Yikes.
dun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I have one in the box. I
Oh.
have one in the other side. I've got a
Uh-oh. It's gotta
couple.
be scale. It's gotta be scale. Can't be a
That
sport.
one's ready to be scale. That's an
What is it?
F-18. That's a
Oh.
Tams jet
Oh.
F-18. It's big though. It's
I know
big.
it's big.
Big, big, big.
No, I mean like that T-33 that he had, something like that would be,
Yeah.
or like a Viper, something,
Yeah.
or L-39. Or L-39. Can I just fly your L-39?
L-39 would be better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
You
I
can do
kept
that.
asking. I pushed this around to everyone I knew there. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, there's team scale, and that's where one guy builds it and one guy flies it, and that's what Matt and
Right.
Gary typically do. There weren't a whole lot of team scale, so I kept floating the idea. I'm like, okay, um, I go, Matt, well, you're used to team scale, so why don't you buy me a new jet and then I'll fly it? you know,
He didn't
he's
go
like,
for that?
no, he didn't go. I couldn't believe it. I'm like,
Wait till I see him. I'm just gonna give him a piece of my mind.
Some guys.
and I asked a couple other guys. I know. I was like, really? I was like, it's
Uh,
perfect. I mean,
I know.
I'm a
Sounds like
good
a great one.
pilot.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a
That's funny.
win-win. You know,
It is a win-win. You
Win-win.
buy me a jet, I'll go fly it. And build it for me too.
yeah,
That's right.
exactly. That's the whole.
Chop,
Yeah,
chop.
that's all about team scale. So,
In
We're a
Jay's
team.
case, you gotta grow the tree first, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're a
gotta
team.
plant. Gotta sow
There's
the
no
sow
I
the
in
earth.
yeah,
team.
That's right. Plant that tree.
Grow the tree, cut the wood, build
That's
the
it.
plane, and then I get to fly
yep, that's it.
it. Yeah, that is
Well,
hilarious.
Hey, so Shannon, you were talking
harvest it
about
from another
So
your
planet, even, and then we'll
it,
go there.
there you go.
so Shannon, you were talking about in order to get certain points that they actually go and like if you have to get the manufacturer's the paint on the plane, uh, or whatever plane that you have
Yeah.
that's
So if you're when you present for static display in the higher echelons, you
Mhm.
provide pictures of the exact aircraft you're modeling it after. So it's got to be a real flying aircraft.
Sure, sure.
Um, I'll give you a perfect example of where Matt Ventura, the one I was telling you, he even
Mhm.
though he didn't fly, he still had them do the static because he just wanted to make sure, see where he was. So he modeled that plane after one of our local club members, Austin Goodwin's real airplane. It's a,
Mhm.
it's a,
Mm.
it's a, I think it was a Piper Cherokee.
Right.
So he got the same color paint that was on the plane, but he didn't actually put like a swatch or a chip in his stuff. But he said it's the same paint, exact
Mhm.
same colors. Um, he 3D printed like the antennas. Like there's a little step that Austin added to make it easier to get on there, and he had put that on there. But on his 3D picture, it didn't have that little step, so they dinged
Ah,
him for that. So
Oh.
and if you turn that plane a certain way, like the paint, it's like a gold metallic paint,
Mhm.
it changes color. So they dinged him for the color not matching, even though in theory it's the exact same paint, but
Paint.
he couldn't
right.
show it was. So yeah, it's like Tim Dickey on all of his planes, like he has like basically the color number of it, and shows like where it's at on the plane, like
Right.
roughly.
Right.
And then if there's any deviation, like if there's something like it's like you say like deviation, um, I have an extra step here because that's what this real airplane has, but the 3 view doesn't. You have to put document what
Mhm.
is and isn't
Gotcha.
the
Gotcha,
same
gotcha,
on
gotcha.
that airplane.
Right.
Because I
So and
because I
because
was
then
thinking
so
if
they look at it from
yeah, I was gonna say I was
like
thinking that if you have a paint, let's just say the example you gave where it was color shifting, and if I was able to replicate that, but I didn't use their paint, it seems like I'm still within. To me, it seems like I'm still within
yeah,
the
yeah. As long as
vein
you're
of
sane
what.
and
Right. So if I say, uh, uh, is not actual paint on plane, but does have color shifting, the same color shifting features, yada yada,
Properties.
yep,
Mhm.
there
properties.
you
Yeah, that's
go.
it. Thank you.
Yep.
Properties, all that kind of stuff. I would still get credit for that, or I'd get dinged because I didn't actually use the paint.
No, if it represents what you're presenting, that's what
Mhm.
Mhm.
the documentation. So it doesn't you don't have to have the exact same paint per se, but as long as it's the color is pretty darn close that and you've documented what that color is, then they're going to be
Mhm.
okay. Unless for some reason they just there's some guys that know every I swear they know every paint code there is on a model aircraft, but they're like,
Yeah.
oh, that or just how something's cut, how a wing root is. If it's like even a
Mhm.
little bit off, they get that granular. But if the more you can show that it's as close to the real aircraft and you've
Mhm.
spent the time putting it there and you document it, you'll get your point. So there's a few people that they'll get like 99 points. Like, let me give you an example here. I got the scores right here. Yeah, like I said with Jeff Lovett, the T-33, he got a 98.25 out of 100.
Gotcha.
Wow.
The highest static score though was Tim Dickey, and he got
Mhm.
a 99,
Look at that.
Wow.
1 point off, and that's for that PT-23 that he flies. He
Right.
actually has a 5-cylinder radial engine. He had the heads made so it says Continental on them. I mean,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I mean he's gone all out on that plane, but then he couldn't get it to start, so he could fly it,
Yeah.
but or
Whoops.
he flew it like once, and then you got the static. But yeah, so it's pretty crazy
That's a
what they could
bummer.
do for that. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Was there any other high statics? No. I'll give you another example of a plane though that somebody came out with that they just weren't quite up to par. Um, Arthur Gambino.
I do, yeah.
Yes, you do. So he brought out this beautiful. Um, where's he at here? It was a Piper J4, like the side by side J4.
Yep. Yep.
Um, Beautiful giant aircraft. Flew well. He had smoke, but
Yeah.
it's not. He had his pilots were um, who was it? Teddy Roosevelt, not Teddy, Theodore. Oh no, FDR. Yeah, it was FDR and Eisenhower. I mean, they looked like me,
Wow.
you know, beautiful aircraft, but it wasn't scaled to a real aircraft. He took a picture. He
Right.
had pictures of a real J4, but it wasn't that J4.
Right.
Is
Oh,
that so?
I
He
see.
didn't. he didn't match them. Um,
Right.
and I don't think the J4 was, you typically had smoke unless it was on fire.
Mhm.
Right.
Right,
Now
right.
now if you're flying like an aerobatic plane and they use smoke, like
Right.
yours do in real life,
Yeah,
Mike,
right. Yeah,
that's perfectly fine. But it didn't help him.
right.
Right.
So
Shannon, I got the
so
perfect plane for you the
what's
next
that?
time. I think you should do an Antonov 124, super cargo lifter, and
Yeah.
it'd be easy to replicate, and I think you could win. You can just take the whole competition home.
I would get
'Cause
multi-engine and
yeah, you
turbine
could. Yep. Well, you don't have to do a
And you
turbine
wouldn't
version.
have to fly it.
because you're buying it for me, right? So it's
No,
team
you
scale.
yeah, that's it, it's Teamster. You're buying it, and you
Yeah.
wouldn't have to fly it because you could say Russians ran out of parts and the current one isn't flying
Oh
either.
no,
So
Well,
you gotta fly it. You gotta fly
kinda
it.
on that theme though. I got to
uh,
fly on that aircraft when I was taking a satellite and launching it in Russia. So
Yep.
I got to spend like 2 weeks on the plane. In fact, I even got to change an engine out, which was pretty incredible.
Oh wow.
yeah,
But anyway, I've never seen an aircraft that had so much Bondo on it in my
yeah,
life.
I've heard
yeah.
that.
Ball
I've
ti
heard that
Yeah,
they're like literally held
Bondo.
together.
It had ball
Duct
tie
tape and
They're
nylon wire.
MacGyvered.
I've
They're
never seen
MacGyvered.
ball tires on an aircraft as much as I did on this one. Bolts, things missing. I was just amazed that that plane was allowed to fly. So what
Yeah,
my point is, you can get a model, just slap on some Bondo, just slap it all over the plane, sand it off, and it'll look like crap. You can go, hey, this is representative of this aircraft, yada yada.
this is it.
You,
Jay's got
you
a
have
picture, he
Yep.
flew on it, it's
There
right
you
you
here.
just pour
go.
oil. You can
Well,
pour oil all over the engines. You just pour oil underneath it.
Oil everywhere,
You-
throw
you-
dirt all
flame when
over
it
it.
starts up. Yep.
oh my gosh! Although it'd be easy to replicate the aircraft, I had to say that that particular plane. Little side story. It was amazing because of just what it could do and how much weight it could lift. But like I said, I helped me who I am not a aircraft mechanic. Helped the
Mhm.
guys who were flying with us replace an engine.
Right.
But I know a little bit about the aircraft maintenance stuff. So I'm on there and I'm watching. I'm like, oh, hey, so where are the torque wrenches? Because we're going to put this thing back in, and I'm like, okay, what torque do we need? And the guy's like, torque. What is this torque? And I'm like, oh, torque wrench. And I'm trying to explain what a torque wrench and stuff. And he goes, no, Yuri, give me it. And he comes over. This guy, little guy Yuri, comes walking over with a socket head wrench, and they put it on the bolt, and they and they get a rod, and they put it on the end, and they go 1, 2, 3, it's good. And I'm like, oh, okay. And
Oh
then I go,
boy.
okay, well, what about the safety wire? You're gonna put a safety wire through you screw down the nut, and then you put the safety wire through the hole, and then you wrap it up. And they're like, safety wire. What is a safety wire? And I'm like, oh, you wrap the thing. And he's like, no. Yuri, we get the torque. Oh, we don't need safety wire. And I'm like, wow. Now, and so the
Uh,
only thing I started getting a little nervous after watching these guys kind of put this, taking this thing apart and put it back together. And I said, "You're flying with us, right?" And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, we're part of the crew. We fly with you guys all." And I'm like, "Okay, well then that's good. Yeah, that alleviates some of my fear because you're coming with me and you put this thing
yeah.
back together." But we took the engine down. Had a little built-in hoist to pull the engine down. It was like working on your lawnmower, you know, for a
Yep.
thing engine. I was just amazed at how easy and quick we were able to swap out the old motor for the new one, hoist it back up into
Yeah.
the aircraft. That part was really amazing. Just the engineering, how they had it so that I mean, you didn't have to have any power tools because that was the next thing. I was like, hey, so where's your, where's your impact wrench? Where's your? They're like, oh no, here's
Yeah,
the
we don't
wrench.
have that.
I'm like, oh
Wow.
boy.
Yeah,
That's
So everything was hand tightened and put back on the plane, and it flew great.
yeah.
well. I could probably do
So,
like the Antonov, the ANT-2. The Colt, the
mhm,
biplane with the
Yeah.
radial engine.
right,
Because
Mhm.
I've seen those same thing. It's like they're just knowing that as long as the engine starts, it'll fly.
That's it.
That's pretty much, you know, and the cables are connected. It'll fly
Yeah.
and it'll stay in the
Yeah.
air. and and even if it runs out of gas, it'll stay in the air for a little longer than
Yeah,
because it's a
exactly.
biplane.
Right.
But
We
fun
had
stuff.
a guy with a Yak 50.
No,
I
I was
used to
thinking,
own a Yak
you
55
know
and
what a TT
competed in
one
it,
is, a
and
Pinto.
we had a
It
Yak
was it
55 at
was
a
a
contest.
the navies were
I
looking at
wasn't
them
there, but I
for
heard the
a
story that the
primary
guy
jet
stepped on the
trainer back
brakes
in
and
the
went off the
back in the
end,
day,
and it
and they made like
dinged his prop,
13 of
so it
them,
split the bottom of the
and
prop up.
then
And same thing, he was all upset.
yeah,
He's gonna have to, I can't fly.
yeah,
And the Russian guy walked over and says, "No problem," and he grabs a hacksaw and just cut that part off of the prop.
yeah,
So now the
That's awesome.
prop is 2 inches shorter. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, like you just cut 2 inches off the prop." He goes, "This thing's all out of balance." And the guy goes, "Ooh, yes, you are correct." So he punches it around and cuts two
But
inches
yeah,
off
2
the
inches
other
off the
side of the
other
prop.
side.
Goes, "Okay,
Right.
good to go." He didn't think anything of it with a hacksaw. He just hacked it off.
yeah.
Just took his pencil and just hacked it.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah,
Yeah, that's definitely,
those airplanes are pretty funny.
yeah, that's definitely a Russian mentality when it comes to stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
When we were over
no
there doing
problem.
the stuff for the doing the stuff for the rockets and stuff, we were taking the satellites, sticking on their rockets and launching it. So one of the problems was you have to bring a cable that hooks into the satellite so you can get your data back and stuff. And they showed up and they go, okay, we have 100 feet of cable. The gantry's
Right.
120 feet high, or 110, because it has to go around and follow the thing up and go, how those things go up the elevator shaft, go across, come around, da 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 da. Da. Well,
Yeah.
we're short, and they're like, "What are we going to do? That we don't have enough cable?" And the Russians are like, "Yeah, no problem. This happens all the time. We fix." And we're like, "Oh, how are they going to fix this?" So they cut a hole, into the launch gantry, straight down, so it was just a straight shot up, and then it hooked into the satellite. And I'm like, "Oh, hey, I'm like, "Hey, that's the way to get it done." You know, you just
Right.
cut through the floors and just get the wire. Well, our OSHA guys that were with us, those guys were as white as a sheet. They were just like, "You can't just be cutting into a gantry. Nobody knows that hole's there." So,
Right.
uh, so here comes this other part of the story. So, so you have this launch gantry, and it's kind of like a C, goes around the rocket, and at each end, on our stuff, they usually have a safety chain. Well, the Russians didn't have this safety chain. And so we're having this meeting. It's on a Friday. It's like the end of the day. Everybody's ready to, start drinking, doing, just getting out of there. And the safety guys, hey, well, we came up and we mentioned this thing about, you guys don't have this safety gate. And they're like, safety gate? What safety gate? And they're like, well, so you just, the gantry just ends and you could just walk off of it. And they're like, yes, and you would die. The guy goes, that's exactly right. You would die. And they're like, you got to put a safety gate up, or else we can't go forward with this mission. And they're like, what does this gate? You want us to build a gate across there? There's a sign that says you go past this, you die. So you go past it, you die. And the guys are like, oh, we can't have that. That's unsafe. You got to put something up and blah 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 blah. And the Russians were totally confused because we put a sign up. It says, "Go past here, you die." What more do you need?
Yeah.
If you go past there and die,
Right.
guess what? That's your fault,
yeah.
right?
Right.
And so they could not understand the safety chain. That's what the guys were very specific. It has to be a safety chain. And so I ran off and I got this chain and I went over to the Russians and I was talking to them in my terrible Russian. And I just said, "Hey, just hang this at the very end, hook it in, and they'll be happy because it's the safety." And just put some orange stuff or another sign on this. And they were like, "Well, we don't have, your OSHA chain, so we only have strong Russian chain. Will this suffice?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, you could haul, half-ton truck with this chain." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I guess that'll do if that's all you got, but
Mm.
he was but it satisfied him. They got their chain, but the Russian guys were funny because they were just, that was their attitude for the whole thing. Hey, if you're launching a rocket and the guy doesn't come in or get away from the blast pad when the rockets go off, you'll be incinerated. No, no, no. You need to blast. You have to have a blast horn three
Yeah, you
times,
have
and
to
you
have a
got to have a guy
chain
jump.
that goes
Wow.
You got
around.
to have a guy jumping around with flags, and you got to do something else. And he goes, "No, he dies. We don't want him. You don't want that guy around." And I just
It's
love the Russian.
Darwinish.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, I just love their
Uh,
whole. I just love their whole attitude when it came to not so much for safety in some respects because there were some other little nitnoid things like walking upstairs.
Yeah.
Like none of the stairs there. Like you walk up your stairs to your bedroom or something, right? You don't even think about your stairs. You just walk up them, right?
Right.
And so one of the guys that was over there told me, "Hey man, whenever you walk up the stairs, hold on to onto the railing. Look at the stairs as you're walking up. Just don't walk up the stairs." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, just don't do it." And so when I got there, same thing. I'm just jogging up the stairs and I'm on my face, and I'm like, "What the heck just happened?" Well, once again, former communist country. So their attitude is, okay, we got to build a set of stairs to the second floor, right? And so they go to the first guy, "Hey, here's your materials. Go build the stairs up to the second floor." And so the guy goes, "Oh, first guy there, he has plenty of materials." He builds the stairs to the standard, thing. I forgot the ratio that you're supposed to use, but anyway, he builds the header,
Yeah, the
not the headers, but
steps.
the steps, and they go up, right? Second day, the next guy comes. Well, he only has the materials left over from the first guy, so he doesn't
Right.
have enough. So in order to make the steps, he might like the first guy might have done one or two steps, and the guy, so they're normal. And the next guy goes, "Well, I'm going to have to half that in order to get the wood to make the math work." Instead of the step being a foot, step, I'm going to have to make it half a foot,
Right.
or some weird, or it's just some weird combination of that in between. And then as further you go up the stairs, he may have to make them shorter, 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 short,
Oh
to,
wow.
to make it work. And being an American, you're used to everything standard, right? It's a standard height, standard stair. Whether I go to your house, you come to my house, wherever you go in America,
Mhm.
the stairs are all the same or very much the same from when they start. Not so much
Right.
there. And it
Mm.
just throws you off. I was, falling down, but I held on to the railing, and that definitely helped. But it was just one of those crazy, you know, different attitudes for things. Hey, I made the stairs to get up to the top of the building, but don't run down the stairs, you will die.
Ugh.
So,
Uh,
but yeah, I got a bunch of Russian stories like that. So, like, don't step on manhole covers while you're over there. Bad.
Yeah.
Don't.
So the lesson that we have here is for scale masters is build a Russian jet and it can be close.
exactly. There we go.
Right. Well, you would be
That's
scale,
too
and then
funny.
then they're like, "Well, is that
Yeah.
Pondo on your plane?"
There you go.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yes,
I
Yep.
it
had
is.
I had the
That's it's right here
I
in the
used the
Duct
picture.
exact
tape.
I
So
used the exact same Pondo they
Duct
did.
tape.
There
Same
was
duct
straw,
tape.
that's
mud,
it.
and
Russian duct tape.
I made it work. So,
Well, congratulations are in order, and we know that if you're going to continue this venture, that you will do even better
That's the
the
plan.
next time
That's
around.
the plan.
So there you
So
yep.
go. That is the
I
plan.
enjoyed it.
So I have to definitely check it out. So, well, unfortunately, we are over thanks to
Oh,
Jay's
well,
Russian stories, but
come on, there. That was a good story.
they are good stories. I've heard a ton of them. It was pretty funny. Yeah, if you have a day, there's some funny stories over there.
Okay,
So.
yeah.
So, anyway, okay. Well, Scale Master sounds like it was a great success, and we're looking forward to some other events coming up between here and the Electric
Yeah.
Festival. So, I think
Yep,
we're going
it's
to
coming up.
spend a little time talking about the Electric Festival coming up here next February. Do you have the dates already?
Second to the fourth. Yep, it's all locked
Second through the
in. Got
fourth.
my
There
got
you
my
go.
sanction and got to
Cool.
get my FAA
Cool.
height waiver still. I got to work on that. Other than that,
There you
we're,
go. All
we're
right.
flying high.
So it's real.
We got the
This
jet
is way
rally.
earlier
Perfect.
than last
No,
time, right?
same,
No,
same
no,
weekend.
first
I thought you
weekend.
did it. I
It's
thought it was
usually the first or
later.
second
I
weekend.
thought it was later in February.
We've done it
second week in
later,
February.
but there's other events. It's just getting hard to
Oh,
shuffle.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
NASCAR, they've got a bunch of other events. They
yeah.
got the
Yep,
Buckeye
yep.
Airfair and stuff in there too. So, all right. Well, we'll get to that when you see us again or listen to us again. Remember, check out our YouTube channel. Give us a like there, and yeah, give us a thumbs up on whatever podcast system you use. But for now, I'm Michael in Arizona.
I'm Jay from the hills of Texas.
and Shannon G in Mesa AZ.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
That's fine.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, And feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.